So do you have any tips on better communication? Are there like some top tips on at your fingertips?
Listening.
Mm.
Listening is really key. I think what often happens in, say, creative presentations is designers are rightfully very focused on the technicalities of the work that they have done. So they may say, oh, I did this amazing piece of work and I set my kerning to this because, and the client's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And so it's putting it into a very different narrative so that when you're presenting your work or you're presenting your creative concepts and your ideas, that you're speaking the client's language and not your own, that you're not speaking around, well, I chose this font because it's the latest, it's just been released and it's from this amazing, foundry. And it's like, don't care. Is it going to solve my problem or is it not? Do you know what I mean? So that for me that's the basis of really good communication. That's what I would say is the top tip, is just get under the skin of the client. Like really, really give the time to that. Think about strategically about what the piece of work you're doing for a client is trying to solve, and then communicate back to them why what you've done will do that, And I think if you always have that in mind as well through the creative process, the output is going to be stronger, it is going to be better. So it stops being, I don't know, like if you're thinking about a wayfinding project, for instance, when you're looking at it on a screen, you really can't get that sense of what it's like in situ. You just can't. You're staring at pixels on a screen. So what you need to be able to do is keep in your mind, like the client has said, these people just don't know how to get from A to B because there's this barrier and there's this barrier. So when you're designing that, if you have that in your mind, you're going to create the solution. And then when you're presenting it back, you can say, this will work because, not, I chose these colors and these fonts because. You're saying this will work because. So that's powerful communication then. That's something that is going to be more persuasive. And what ultimately that will do is it will reduce the rounds of amends that you have to do. It will reduce the to and fro, making sure there's a really good initial presentation is really, really key.
I think that is excellently put. Learning to speak the client's language and putting yourself in their shoes, because designers tend to use design vernacular and that is often lost on clients who don't understand it. And the same with businesses speak business vernacular, and designers need to learn to speak that language so that they can better understand how to answer the problems that these businesses bring to them. I think the other tip I would say is really spend your time asking questions to your client, because most often the client hasn't fully formulated, or they might present or ask you to do something, but the solution isn't necessarily the first answer. And so you need to dig deeper into why are they asking you to do this, and what is their hope, or what is the goal that they want to achieve out of this job or out of this brief. And sometimes what the client asks for isn't necessarily what they need, and so it's important to dig out that nugget, and then you can be strategic, because now you can answer that business problem straight away, rather than
that is so important, Ashwin. That is so important. Is you have to remember that sometimes a client might ask for something because they think that's the right solution, but actually you have the expertise and you have the knowledge. So if you understand the why, you can help solve the what. And that's so fundamental, so that you don't end up on a track that you end up with something that might look absolutely beautiful, but it's not going to serve the purpose that it was intended to do. So again, back to just great communication, trust, build the trust with your clients so that you can demonstrate you're on their side. I think sometimes designer and client relationships can become transactional, and that's when it's a problem, because the client is giving you a task to do, and then the designer is just doing a task. That's not releasing the value of design. That's not maximizing the potential of design. It's when the two come together and say, this is what we're trying to achieve, and then together they say, this is how we're going to do it. That's when it gets really good.